Hello everybody and welcome to another video on the Traxion channel. It feels like yesterday that Colin McRae Dirt burst onto the scene as an exciting rebrand of the popular Colin McRae Rally series, with a bit of added fun sprinkled on top. 8 games and 13 years later, the franchise is still going strong. However, in recent years, what used to be a one-size-fits-all rally experience has split down 2 separate paths heading in very different directions, but that's not a bad thing, right? The Dirt franchise originally set out to bring rally gaming to the masses. The first 3 titles were a big success, combining the soul and relentless nature of traditional rallying with energy, excitement and madness in the form of a new expression-based rallying genre. This included freestyle driving, the addition of gymkhana and other more action-packed disciplines such as head-to-head racing and extreme rallycross. Then came the split I mentioned earlier. The 4th and 5th installments named Dirt Showdown and Dirt Rally could not have been more different. Instead of a game that catered to both hardcore simulation fans and arcade racing fans alike, there was now a game for each demographic, and these games both went to extreme lengths. Ever since then, the 2 different paths have remained, and with the most recent title, Dirt Rally 2.0, being a big success for the hardcore rally fans, the pressure was on Dirt 5 to deliver for the arcade side, especially after its relatively disappointing predecessor, Dirt 4, failed to live up to expectations. So the question is, have they succeeded? Just before we take a look at the game and find out, why don't you subscribe to the Traxion channel if you haven't already? We have big plans to bring you lots of exciting content, so make sure you don't miss out and help us grow the community in the process. Now, on to the review. The first area we are going to look at is the aesthetics, a very important feature of past Dirt titles. When you first launch the game, you're greeted with an adrenaline-fueled, bright intro video which captures the magic of the trailers. It kind of feels like a combination of Dirt 2, Dirt Showdown and Rallycross. It's exciting and it looks great. You then load into the game and the menus feel similarly positive. Bright colours such as pinks and oranges, loading music that makes you miss live concerts, it really does hype you up and get you excited to play the game. It's not quite as dynamic or immersive as Dirt 2, but the energy is certainly present. A big part of that is the soundtrack, with a great selection of music matching up perfectly with the visual elements. All of this starts you off on the right foot. The game instantly has a bold personality and life about it, which isn't always the case with modern games. This positive aesthetic energy also carries over to the gameplay as well. The graphics are superb in a high setting, maintaining the pattern of bold, vibrant colours that get right up in your face and scream at you. The real thing that stands out, quite literally, is the sense of depth that this game gives you, and this applies to both colour and depth perception. The various locations all have their own characters, which match up nicely with the real locations. The drive up the South African mountains, for example, are rewarded with a beautiful, colourful view and a sense of achievement. The quarries in Italy give off such a feeling of vastness and depth that many games struggle to replicate. The northern lights found in the Norwegian events sum it up beautifully. It lights up the sky and has a magical feeling to it. Fmod have done a superb job with the sounds as well. Each car feels unique and has its own note that matches up well with what you might expect. The attention to detail is especially noticeable, like the music getting louder as you drive through populated areas and groups of spectators, and then fading again as you hit the abandoned mountains. The overall aesthetic of the game is hugely impressive and provides a solid foundation for Dirt 5 to build on. Speaking of solid foundations, this game has an impressive array of content on first release. There are 10 locations, each with their own character and multiple different stages within them. It rarely feels like you do the same circuit or route more than once or twice while playing through career mode. The car choices are great too. Multiple classes ranging from historic rally cars to buggies, pickup trucks, MPVs and modern rally spec GT cars. Within each class there is an exciting variety of cars, each with their own handling and performance characteristics, meaning that your choice can really make a difference on specific circuits. The livery editor also adds customization to make each car feel like your own. The editor itself is fairly basic, and there's a lack of default layouts to unlock, with each car mainly having the same 3 options to choose from. But aside from that, the vast array of colours and textures gives you enough to make something unique every time. It's about time we talked about the actual gameplay itself, and unfortunately this is where we hit our first bumps in the road. The key word here is inconsistency. First of all, wheel support wasn't available from launch. This is a little disappointing for a game released in 2020, with players who purchased the game early not wanting to wait around before starting their career modes. Although there is a decent amount of variation between each car's handling, they can often feel a little bit lazy. The smaller purpose-built rally cars probably feel the nicest, with the older rear-wheel drive cars such as the Lancias feeling appropriately leery and the four-wheel drives feeling a little bit more stable and predictable. However, the bigger machinery can be very inconsistent from car to car, with some feeling sharp and giving you lots of confidence, whilst others feel heavy, slow and a little bit unpredictable. Obviously some of the cars are meant to feel short of ideal, but it could be done in a way that is less frustrating to play. This game doesn't seem to reward driving in the way that you might expect, with it feeling tricky to know when you are losing or gaining time. No matter how much you compromise your entry speed to gain on the exit, it doesn't seem to help, and the AI always seem to get more traction. This usually ends up with you hurling your car down the inside into every corner and simply blocking on the exits. Speaking of AI, Here we seem to have another mixed bag of results. For starters, they tend to be majorly inconsistent in terms of their speed. On the same difficulty level, I would sometimes find myself struggling to keep up with the pack, but other times I would win by over 20 seconds. You can also tell that a little bit of Need for Speed style rubber banding is present, which works well in theory for an arcade style racing game, but isn't perfectly executed here. The AI tend to group together in giant clusters, meaning that racing your way through the field is rarely as natural as it sounds. You'll often find yourself doing one of three things. The first common situation is overtaking everybody down the inside of a wide open hairpin and taking the lead. The second is getting yourself stuck in the midfield cluster and basically losing all control of your situation, being bounced around like a pinball. To be fair, this one is kind of fun. And scenario 3 is either crashing into something solid yourself or being forced into it by the AI, which often results in you rejoining in last position, miles behind the pack, simply because the AI are rarely separated by more than a couple of seconds from first to last. They also don't seem to register your existence, so overtaking cars cleanly is almost impossible, and you will often find it impossible to avoid excessive contact as well. This makes it incredibly difficult to set up a move for corner exit, as I mentioned earlier, resulting in you sending one down the inside in the spirit of Leroy Jenkins and hoping that you can block them on the exit. All of this isn't to say the AI aren't fun to race, but they can be frustrating. So that's the gameplay itself, but how does it all sit within the game? As with many racing titles, the heart of the single player experience lies within career mode. When you begin playing it, you're greeted with a podcast style commentary featuring Donut Media. You'll quickly find out through various voiceovers that you're joining dirt racing legend AJ's driving academy, hoping to win races and fight your way to the top of the sport just like AJ did. The Donut Media guys continue to provide the commentary throughout, and they're full of energy, contributing to the bold, vibrant, feel-good factor of the game. As you progress through the career mode, however, it becomes apparent that it lacks a little bit of immersion and depth. There aren't any cutscenes or surprise visual elements which can bring a story to life and immerse you fully within a game. Obviously this can come down to personal opinion. Some people like racing games that don't waste time with cutscenes and stories and focus on the racing itself. But for me, a single player career mode is at its best when you really care about finding out what's going to happen next. When I reached my first main event, I was hoping that a win would make something happen to bring the career mode to life, but instead, the next events which were previously locked just opened up. There are some extra events to unlock along the way called throwdowns, which have unique elements to them, but that's about it. Now I should make it clear that this game has been released in 2020, with an ongoing global pandemic at play. It might not have been possible for the developers to create elements that can bring a story to life in a way they would like, so I think they've done a solid job considering, but it just doesn't make for a hugely memorable story. The majority of the base gameplay within Career is split into 8 different event types. This may sound great on paper, but in reality it's a little bit underwhelming. 4 of the disciplines, these being Ultracross, Land Rush, Stampede, and Icebreaker, consist of 2 or 3 lap sprint races, all in a similar style. As you can imagine, Icebreaker takes place on ice, which is kind of fun. Land Rush tends to be slightly wider and more open layouts, but that's about it. These event types feel somewhat interchangeable, and the class of car used changes throughout anyway, so that isn't a factor either. You then have Rally Raid, which is a point-to-point race instead of a circuit. This is pretty cool and has some really strong locations with lots of personality. The final 3 are Gymkhana, Pathfinder, and Sprint events. Gymkhana is a little bit disappointing. It just doesn't feel as refined or natural as it did on Dirt 3, which captured its magic in a far more captivating way. It just feels a bit clunky and unsatisfying, and kinda just makes you want to go and play Dirt 3 all over again. The Pathfinder events are something unique, and in my opinion they are really cool. It's fun to take on the elements and requires a different set of skills to conquer. However, getting the full 3 stamps is far too easy. Even with a big crash on the highest difficulty, you can still win with over 20 seconds to spare. Finally, we have the oval races named Sprint, and with these I really don't know where to begin. There was one good event using the R5 cars on some ice, but the ones with the actual sprint cars were a complete waste of time. The AI seemed completely broken, slamming into walls at every corner. The cars are meant to be like real sprint cars, which are incredibly bizarre themselves and are always steering heavily left, for example, but in a game like this, and using a controller, it just really doesn't feel very good. There are a few other small features within the career mode worth mentioning. There are sponsors which will help you make money and pay for new cars and other unlockables. There are also objectives given to you for each event, as well as sponsor-specific objectives, which means that you have something different to focus on during each race. These can be fun in some instances, but also completely impossible in others. Try holding above 70 miles an hour for over 10 seconds on a twisty ice circuit in a pickup truck, for example. Also, it sounds cool when it asks you to finish the race in reverse, but when the game physics are designed to allow you to drift up to 90 degrees without spinning and you don't have a massive lead, this happens. Yeah. All in all, the career mode is fun without being a game changer. I like the challenge of doing lots of different events and routes in different cars, and I like the energy. I also like the fact that if you are struggling to beat the AI, you can buy a faster car within the same class and give yourself a better chance. But the AI's inconsistency between different event types and the unfortunate lack of immersion within the storyline stops it short of being something special. Dirt 5 does have other game modes beyond the career, and again you will find a mixed set of results. The arcade mode allows you to select between free play and time trial, choosing any combination of car and location, which is handy if you want to master any specific stages or learn to drive without assists, for example. Online mode is very basic. You have the options to join a session with your friends, but you have no influence over any of the settings. There are regular glitches, and it often takes you multiple attempts before even finding a session. I haven't once actually been able to enter a party mode session. It always loads for a few minutes and then kicks me out. Playground mode is potentially the saving grace of this title. It's full of creativity and is a lot of fun, providing a platform for a potential community that could outlast any other aspects of the game. You can race on other people's creations and compare your times and scores to the world's best, or you can just kick back and try to create something of your own. The creation mode is intuitive and you can throw something fun together in a short amount of time. Playground brings back some of the magic found in previous titles such as Dirt 3 and kind of feels like the glue that holds this game together. On the whole, it appears that Codemasters have made a fun game that's well built and full of energy. The most impressive aspect of Dirt 5 is the way it looks. Its aesthetic style is incredibly bold and it works perfectly, bringing the game to life through vibrant colours and epic locations. The sounds match up just as well, and despite a few minor glitches, the general build quality feels very high with an exceptional level of attention to detail. From the plains to the rain, this game provides an exciting visual experience that many titles fall short of. The base level content is strong and the playground mode adds a layer of madness and creativity found lurking in all of the best Dirt titles. However, it's fair to say that Dirt 5 misses the mark in so many other areas. The career doesn't feel as immersive as it could have and the AI can be frustrating at times. The driving experience is decent enough, but doesn't reach the heights of other titles. I think the biggest potential issue with this game is lack of replayability. It seems like the kind of game that will be fun to pick up and play for a few days, but once you've completed the linear career mode, the only thing bringing you back will be playground mode, as online has no progression type features. The future of this game will heavily rely on the creative community. If there are a rich number of creators pumping out superb playground maps, then it might be okay, but without that, the longevity will likely be limited. If you are in lockdown and have a few days to kill, however, I would highly recommend getting your hands on this game and having a bit of fun. Although you could also just go back and play Dirt 3 again. That's all from us for this video. If you've enjoyed it or found it useful, please leave us a like, and if you disagree with anything or everything that I've rambled on about, please feel free to tell me why in the comments section below. Don't forget to subscribe to the Traxion channel for more racing game content, but for now, keep it pinned, thanks for watching and have a great day.